Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And today we are in San Diego County in one of, I guess I would describe it as one of the lesser well-known Costcos that sometimes though does have some really great whiskeys when the other like main Costcos in San Diego, the Carlsbad, the Carmel Mountain, the Marina Boulevard, when they're out, this one usually has a few left over, which is the Costco in Vista, California. And here in the Costco in Vista, we see some really great indie rye maker, the Kentucky Owl Rye, batch number 4, and another amazing scotch out of the Kirkland collection, which is the Kirkland Islay single malt, and really so much more. And before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, or if you like the hauls, or the reviews, or the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we got cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel to grow. And again, we are so thankful for that. But also because you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, when our shorts, our whiskey quickies, come out sort of randomly, and if there are videos that come out in between too. Or now, let's get down to the video. All right, now, so while we are waiting for the Wander Vision to get fired up, and hopefully you're getting a little warmed up too, let's do a real quick whiskey check. And I think today, what I'm going to be enjoying is something from the Kirkland family, the Speyside 19. Yeah, just keep it in the family. Since we're doing the Islay Kirkland version, might as well try this one as well. Let's see if we can get a pop. Hey, that's pretty good. And get a little juice here, yeah? Oh, yeah. All right, and to whiskey, because honestly, let's face it, you can never really drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. That's another one that did pretty good after it oxidizes a little bit. Yeah. Not as bad as I remember. All right, so first up for today is a whiskey that has a pretty short current history and has some real hits within that history as well as some real misses within that history, depending on the batch that someone gets, which is going to be this Kentucky Owl Rye batch number 4. And we actually already have one here, but we see it at the Costco in Vista. And there really is a lot to be said about Kentucky Owl. In fact, we're kind of making our way through this bottle. If you've ever been to Costco here in Southern California, you will have seen the Kentucky Owl on the shelf for sure. And there's a couple other batches that sometimes pops up. And there's a couple other failure ones, like the Kentucky Owl St. Patrick's Day, which did not do so hot, as well as the Kentucky Owl. I think there's like a Japanese-inspired one. Yeah, the Kentucky Owl Takumi, which you can still find pretty readily on the shelf. It's not, no one's busting down the doors for it. But this Kentucky Owl Batch 4 really is quite different from the other ones that have been sort of misses, let's be honest about that. But the thing is that you will likely have seen it on the shelves in Costco in Southern California for quite some time, primarily because of the way that it is priced. It is just not priced really great in the market for where it's at. But good news is it is coming down. In fact, I think we had bought this one last year for around $289 from a Costco. So it's coming down, and I think that's why I noticed it. And it's great whiskey. I'll have to emphasize that. But at $289, that's a real decision to decide to pick it up. Kentucky Owl as a whole really started off with a bang with its batch number 1, which was a huge hit and pretty reasonably priced from what I can understand, although I never bought one. And then they had successes with the batch number 2, as well as some pretty big failures with the batch number 3 and the batch number 4, which allegedly is as good as batch number 1, which of course, again, I have never tried. But the fact is that the batch number 4 is priced so ridiculously high for what it is. But again, it is damn good stuff. Now, the distillery, Kentucky Owl, was actually commissioned way back in the day in 1879, but it was reopened with its first batch of modern bourbon in 2014, and then its first batch of rye in 2017. And at that time, that is when it was subsequently purchased by Stoli, the vodka maker. I think they were actually planning to do like a whole theme park around it, but it has not gone through so far. And by the way, a theme park designed around whiskey, I mean, what could go wrong, right? That is going to get out of hand real quick. Now, batch 4 is obviously a rye. It is aged 10 years, which is pretty old for a rye. And it is made from whiskeys that are sourced probably from, the top whiskey manufacturers, the usual suspects. But Kentucky Owl is very, very tight-lipped about the specifics of which whiskeys they use. This one is a limited release, and in fact, it is only available in some states, California being one of them. And additionally, the batch allegedly, purportedly, is going to be the last batch of rye that Kentucky Owl is going to put out. Presumably because maybe the sourced whiskey that they bought is all gone and they just don't have enough to make any more. And even though the age statement on it does say 10 years, it actually has other whiskeys in it that are as old as 13 years old, which is pretty good. I mean, considering some of the other well-aged, I guess we could call them, senior ryes or geriatric ryes, that's a pretty good age for it. I mean, I think the only one I can think of at the moment is going to be like the Michter's 10 rye, at least in our collection. That's the only age statement rye I think we even have. Yeah. So the mash bill on it is at, of course, 51% rye at least, because otherwise it wouldn't be a rye. So we know that. But the amount of corn or malted barley in it is going to be undisclosed, and it is aged in new charred oak barrels. That being said, let's get down to the long and the short of why this Kentucky Owl is so readily available and why you have seen it on the shelf for so long, even though it is a very, very good rye if you're into rye. And the biggest reason is because, again, the pricing is way off for, what it is. And we can see it here at Costco at $199.99, which obviously is a lot of money. But it caught my eye because of the fact that when we had bought it last year, we bought it for $289 at Costco. I don't remember which Costco it was, but we bought it for $289. So that is a pretty big drop if you want to think about it. Now, a lot of the other big box alcohol liquor stores, Total Wine, Bevmo, obviously have not got a memo to bring down the price, because at Total Wine right now, they have it for $329.99, which is really highway robbery. And even Bevmo is at $299.99. So, they're the lower of the two, which usually is a bit of an oddity. So if we had bought this one at the Costco at the lower price, the $199.99, we would have saved about $100 off the next lowest price at Bevmo, or 50% percentage-wise. Now, the ABV on here is actually pretty good at 112.8 proof, or 56.4%, if you can see that. And the tasting notes, including mine, my own personal notes, because I do, if you have not guessed, really like this one, mention the fact that it is delicious if you are into rye. It has a very strong, dill flavored, which is pretty awesome, as well as cloves, allspice, plum, gingerbread, mint, and just kind of an all-around great wintry flavor. And I can tell you right now, with this winter being around, Kentucky Owl as well as my Midwinter's Night's Dram, man, these are both great, actually both ryes now that I think about it, but great flavors that just go perfectly with winter time. The review scores that I could find it on are quite good, right? On the Kentucky Owl Batch 4, which is at 91 points out of 100. But here at the Costco, when we saw it, it was going to be a pass at the Costco Vista, because we have this one. We still have another bottle of it. And I think that if we kind of wait it out, maybe if we get through Christmas time, they might even drop that down a little bit lower if it's still not selling $199. Because the consensus is, again, that the Batch 4 is quite good, probably, almost, possibly, maybe, just as good as Batch 1, but it's not $200 good. It's not $300 good. I mean, there's a lot of competition at that for bourbons and scotches and even potentially ryes. So I think that if that price comes down, it'll really start moving. So for me, I think this one's going to be a pass, but we're going to wait and see. And if it comes down, then I'm definitely going to move into that buy section. So that is the Kentucky Owl Batch 4 Rye. All right, next up is a whiskey that maybe isn't so prestigious or limited as the Kentucky Owl, but really they're not so different in the sense that they definitely are whiskeys that are sourced, but just kind of different how they're sourced, which is going to be this Kirkland store brand single malt Islay whiskey. And this is actually quite good as well. Now, there definitely is a place in the world for store brand whiskeys, and Kirkland, at least with some of its most recent whiskey offerings, for example, the Master Distillers, the Barton 1792 collaboration they did, as well as the other two versions that go along with that, And hey, you know what? My one of my secret favorites is this bourbon 7 year, the Tennessee bourbon 7 year, which is quite good as far as, despite how kind of ratchet it looks, it is very good for an everyday sipper. So it seems that Kirkland is really coming out with some bangers lately, and I think that this single malt Isla is going to be kind of in that same ilk. And definitely, I mean, and because it's definitely not in the same phylum or even in the same kingdom as a lot of other kind of store brands, the, if you will, Great Values or RC Colas of the alcohol world. But the Kirkland Islay single malt is going to be sourced or at least distributed by Alexander Murray, that we had purchased previously, like this Alexander Murray & Co. Royal Bacla Distillery. Yeah, it's a little dusty. I haven't opened it. I just need to get around to that one. So, you know, they definitely have a lot of experience on their own, and I would imagine what they do with Costco is going to be quite good too. Now, another important part about this one is that it is definitely not sourced from Lagavulin. I guess that's the one thing that we can know for sure. And it's kind of hard. I mean, I guess if you close your eyes and really kind of try it and imagine, you can figure out which distilleries they're from. There's only really 9 main distilleries in Islay. But if the internet whiskey sleuths are to be believed, and really a lot of the smart money is guessing, that is likely going to be sourced from Colai or from Port Charlotte. And again, their guess could be just as good as mine. In fact, probably better. Now, there is no age statement on it, and it is heavily peated. But one thing that is very nice, that is a little bit step up from a lot of the standard level, you know, Lagavulins, Lafroigs, and Ardbegs, is the fact that it is ABV'd at 50% or 100 proof, which is pretty good. It's got a nice little bit of heft to it, which I think you would need for something like this. And in fact, I think both the Lagavulin as well as the Lafroig and the Ardbeg, if they started right at 50%. Now, the price that we see it here at Costco, of course, is going to be very value-centric. It's going to be a good value for what you pay for it at $35.99. And since it is a Costco exclusive brand, although I do see some people online selling Kirkland stuff, I don't know how they're getting it or why they're selling it that way or who's buying it that way. But it's not really available either at Total Wine or Bevmo, so we don't have any competitive prices. There's no difference in price for it. But going back to that ABV at 50%, it does kind of make me wonder if they specifically designed this one for the American palate, because I do know that overall Americans in general like a much higher ABV on average in their bourbon and presumably in their scotches and in their whiskeys altogether. We see it with Nikka when they designed their specific Japanese whiskey, but for the American market. We see it with the bourbon, obviously. We also see it with this one in the Islay. My suspicion is that it's at 50% specifically to please the American audience. I mean, I don't think that they're really selling the 50% ABV one in the Costco's in France or in Europe. Probably not. Now, the tasting notes on it do mention that it is medium body, that it is quite peaty, kind of like myself, with a bitterness, also like myself, and a healthy ABV burn. I guess only when I'm lucky. And the overall milieu kind of flavor palette for it is, think barbecue sauce and like smoked seafood on a beach in August, which is exactly where I would want to be. Now, the review scores on it are quite good. And again, I think that the scores are so good because of the fact that they really emphasize the value. You see that oftentimes in really great value whiskeys, whether it is an Islay or whether it is the Kirkland Barton 1792 or whether it is the Eagle Rare, right? It gets very good scores, not because it's amazing whiskey, and it's not bad whiskey. They're all very good whiskeys, but when you can find them at a reasonable price, I mean, that really makes a world of difference. And this one's no different because for the reviews for it, I found at around 88 points out of 100, again, including my own review for it. So I think that, it really is a great value. It's a great whiskey to have around if you love scotches and you want to drink it and you don't want to shell out $70 for a Lagavulin or whatever else you're paying for it. And I'd be interested to see how it actually compares with some of the entry-level Lafroigs that are $34, $35, maybe $40, depending on where you're at as well. I wonder how it compares, if it's equally good or better or worse in that manner. So as far as this one goes, this one was a pass at the Vista Costco because, again, we already have 2 bottles of it. And this one I have not opened up yet, so we still have some time. The other thing is that I'm sure that Costco bought this by the battleship, right? They probably have so much of it, they don't know what to do with it, so it's not going anywhere, and there's no need to really stock up on it unless you drink it that fast, and if that's the case, then maybe you want to think about talking to someone for a problem. So that is the Kirkland Islay single malt whiskey. All right, so that's it for today's Whiskey Wander at the Costco in Vista, California. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And in fact, I kind of hope that you enjoy all of our videos, whether it is the wanders or the hauls or the reviews or the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff that we have cooking up for you. And we have a lot of stuff cooking up for you. And if you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel to grow, and we are growing, and it's amazing to see us grow. And again, we are so thankful for that. But also, you know, I like to think that it pleases the whiskey gods. It helps your whiskey mojo, and you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, when our quickies come out pretty much randomly, and when our other videos come out at some point in between. All right, now, just before I go, remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, even if it is overpriced, just buy it. Or wait till it goes down and then just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And in this case, it might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.